Hello guys, and welcome to episode 22.
Hey, 22, he's getting like bingos, little books and all that.
I just thought that then. I couldn't remember what it was for 22. Anyway, yes, episode 22. Quite a mixed bag again, as usual. First up, I know we've been promised this for a couple of episodes now. We've got Martin's Fiesta ST line 1 year update. It's a bit more 1 year now, isn't it?
I was just going to say, now we're filming this at this time, I will say we're actually now November. It is stretched over a year now, but obviously when we sort of filmed it, it was nearly more or less around that year's time anyway.
Nevertheless,
what else do we have? We have the Talk Pro app as well.
We have.
Talk Pro app, which we've just had a nice good look at.
Yep. And the M4 as well.
Oh, and a tasty M4 that we sort of bagged.
Which I missed out on.
Missed out on that.
And of course the usual discussion.
Yeah.
So I think first, shall we have a look at this Fiesta review? It seems to be stretching on so long that it's well over a year now.
It's well overdue, so let's have a look.
Today you find me in my car, which this is a 1 year review, because this car has now been in my ownership for over a year. Hard to believe, but yes it has. As some people might know me, I don't normally keep my cars long, but this has now been in my ownership over a year and a month, let's say. So we're going to find out exactly how have I found the car to own, drive, have I found any niggles, any passions, has it made me want the ST version. So we're going to find out more about the car. I'm finding it, let's say, on its fuel. I've had it a year. Now it's not had massive motorway blasts, so you'll have to bear with me with this. It's had its daily tootling to and from work, it's run-of-the-mill round stuff, so I reckon its average that it's getting of a 39.3 at the moment is okay. I'd still class it as running in anyway. It needs some motorway blasts to have that a better average, and that is a buy with any car really. Driving this car on the whole, I love it. I did say in my review that it was ticking all the boxes and it was everything I liked and that, and for all it is a 1 litre engine, it's a turbocharged one. It's a very small turbo, but it does shift. I find it can pull up some hills excellently. I've overtaken some vehicles on the slide and really floored it, and it don't let you down. It has a little nice turbo whistle to it, very subtle, but it's no major, but it is what it is. The drive's nice. It's not bumpy like mad. It is in between normal and not harsh, you know. ST has the same suspension but tweaked, obviously. So when I said it shared the suspension, it does, but obviously the ST one is tweaked even more, made more sporty. Yeah, I'm really struggling to find nasty niggles about the car. I can't fault it. I love the shape. I'm really getting used to the shape. So anyway, I've got Craig now with me. As always, we like to have a little bit of discuss about this. Basically, I'd like Craig to put some views across what he sort of finds a car.
I think Martin did the best thing when he bought the car, when he came to choosing the colour.
This race red is a flat paintwork colour, so it's not a premium colour or anything like that. It's not metallic or anything. You're not paying over the odds. I mean, like the ST, you can get a performance blue, which is a flagship colour.
Yeah.
It's a £750 option.
Yeah, you've got to want it, haven't you? Because you don't see many red ones about.
Now this is the thing. I must just say, before I got this car, I looked on YouTube. I looked at YouTube as the STs, and the first video that popped up was a red ST, and I thought how good it looked I won't obviously get in the ST, but I'll get the ST line. I'll get it in the same red. And I even adamantly said at the garage, I want race red, I want race red.
Yeah,
They kept
yeah.
saying, why do you want that? I said, I do. And I got it in this, and I am pleasantly surprised with the colour. It is a really good colour that suits the car, and I did say that in the first review. It is a nice red. Reds sometimes don't always fare well as they get older. They have to be really looked after. But obviously, if anyone knows me, I'm probably not going to have this car long enough to worry about that.
No, that's true. But no, generally speaking, I love the car. Obviously, it's an ST line, so it's sort of a halfway house between, a run-of-the-mill Fiesta and obviously the ST.
It is.
I love the style in this car. I've had cars like this before myself. One that springs to mind was my Corsa SRI. Subtle little body kit but without being over the top.
Yeah.
And that pretty much sums this car up. It looks the part. It's got a really nice set of wheels. Nice subtle little body kit there, but without being sort of set over the top really.
Now, you say wheels. I won't say it's a gripe about these wheels, but I like the colour of them, but I'm not so overjoyed of the style.
The style doesn't bother me too much. I'm with you on the colour. I think the colour looks
The colour's
fantastic.
great. The colour's very different for a car like this. I think it would have looked a bit cheaper if it had been standard alloy wheel colour.
Yeah, and I think it looks better grey than black wheels as well.
Yeah, I did mention some niggles it's got, and one, I'll see if I can show it on camera. It's the seat belt. I don't know if it's because where my seat's positioned, but every time I've got my seat belt on, when I take it off to let it go back, and it's actually proved me wrong, but usually it catches
Right, on the
on
side
the
of
adjustment.
seat, yeah.
And because it's rubber, this adjustment grip, it really hooks onto it sometimes. Is it because you've not much room between the sides? I don't know. It feels a little bit compact. This is a strange thing about a Fiesta. It's bigger than the Mark 7, but also in areas feels a bit squashed in. It's a strange one.
It is a strange one. I suppose every car is going to have the odd design flaw here and there, isn't it?
It's a niggle, and actually, as I've just proved, the seatbelt went back then out of the way. So if you suppose if you do it right, it will do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's me being me, but 9 times out of 10
I think
it happens.
the thing is with any car, I think if you look hard enough, you'll always find something that you'd prefer to be different.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everyone knows I'm a Ford man. I've gone through loads of Fords. Not had many Fiestas. I had one as a Motability car when the Mark 7 shape first came out with my dad. That was a titanium one, and that had the full bells and whistles. That were great. And then this one, I've always had the bigger ones, the Focuses, things like that. I've been heavy on my Focuses and things. I am finding things like I'm getting some slight wear. This, when I got it, the gear top, the chrome that goes through, was super shiny, as it would be with being a brand new car. But what I'm finding is wear at the top edge and little scuffs. It's as if I'm wearing a ring, and when I'm changing gear I'm catching it, and as you can see, I'm not married and all that, so
but I've seen that on other ones, but yours isn't as bad as some I've seen. But I've seen it on other ones.
So I'm just thinking, have Ford gone to cheaper plastics and things? Because there's a lot of videos that pointed out you've got this nice soft touch on the dash. Great, Ford, but why didn't you continue it to the doors? It is horrendous
there's a cheapness
plastic
going on there, isn't there?
They really, and I'd say cheaper than some of the Fords I've had.
There's a lot of things in this car that feel really nice. The steering wheel in particular, you've got a nice thick leather bolstered steering wheel.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Good. But then you've got areas like that, and you think,
It's the one thing that lets it down. I did mention the daytime running lights when I was driving up here. And I did say, and I've said it in the other videos about the review of the car, why Ford didn't include a dim-in switch for the daytime running lights. You get obsessed with buttons for dimming the display down and doing this and doing that. A simple little switch that you could have turned in.
But is that a legal requirement thing that they can't necessarily put that in? Or?
They could have done it within the legal parameters of, let's say, they were still visible as daytime running lights. Because as we know, and Malcolm's pointed out, when I indicate, the actual light unit dulls down so you can actually see the indicator. Now that
it's something to think about, but you have hit a point there. I think maybe that's telling them something that they are to.
You see, I also find as well things like my active city stop. I always turn that off because I don't want the car switching itself off.
You're on about the start stop. Aren't
That's
you?
the start stop. They call it active city stop because they imagine you tootling around town, stopping at lights, and it switches ignition off when you let your foot off the clutch. That's all it does. I turn that straight off. The Eco, well, in a car like this, a 1 litre 3-cylinder, you're not going to be saving much petrol anyway or anything, so I don't see why this button's here.
No.
by leaving that on, you are really not saving much fuel. That I can sometimes turn
And your
off.
traction control system.
Traction control, well, we've not had any bad weather yet. I've been advised if you get some snow, whip your traction control off.
That's true, that is true, yeah.
I have done it in other cars and it does work. So that may come off at some point if we get bad weather. Things like that, fine. I do find, because I've mentioned there's no armrest, and I'm a person used to having an armrest while I drive, I was led to believe there was an optional extra which just sort of sat in.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's a different moulding and you don't get it. It's just the STs and the ST line X-Pack, which comes with a complete different moulding with the armrest in. I am still doing this a lot, even after a year of owning the car. But by that, I'm finding all the display great.
Like I said, we've got a satellite navigation in yours, haven't we?
We have got the sat-nav in this. As I did point out in the first review, this is the 6-inch screen. Someone pulled me up on it saying, no, it's not, it's the 8. But we're not talking about the whole surround. We're talking about corner-to-corner screen size.
Yeah.
This is 6. If you get a Vignale, fine, you get a bigger screen. If you get a titanium, not a titanium, if you get the X-Pack version of this, you can opt for the bigger screen. You can even get a CD player, which you don't get.
No, you
Not
can
many
have it.
cars
I
get
think it's in the
CD
glove
players
box.
now.
You can put it in the glove box,
It fits in the top part of the glove box.
Yeah.
You can have one integrated in because you've got your pause and play and all your buttons ready for it.
Yeah.
So there are things like that. But as the screen size goes, this is the 6 because this is the standard ST line.
Yeah.
It may feel like it's up above others, but it's still the standard
Yes,
one.
that's something to point out. You can get the ST line, which this is, and you can also have the ST line X pack, can't you? Which also comes with half leather and things like that.
It gives you half leather, it gives you red inserts. I do believe you might be able to get some other colours as well, but it does give you inserts. That's the thing, to show it's slightly different.
Yeah.
Things like that. Also, like I say, you do get the different size display and things like that.
Personally, I don't see why you'd need them things unless you really want them.
It's like I said in the first review, it's not a biggie having a smaller screen. For everything you can do on this, you can do as well on the other implied lines, and vice versa. It's not a biggie.
But to summarise though, how has it been in a year of ownership, Martin?
In a year of ownership, when I first got this car, a bit like that about it, because the car that I left behind for it was my Puma, and I will say now, thinking back, when I look at pictures of my Puma, I was really warm into that car, and I liked it. It was different, and it was a decent car.
It's one of them cars that you did warm to quite easily,
I did like it, and then I came back to, let's say, the modern time with this, and at first it took a bit of getting used to. It really did. And yeah, I know I'm back to my start-stop button and things like that, and this one is not keyless entry. This is another thing. I'm plumbing for an ST, but I'm plumbing for an ST2 because the ST2's locking system is like this, and it isn't keyless entry. ST3 is keyless entry.
Yeah.
Really a crime. I'm a bit concerned about that because STs are already being stolen as we speak.
And we have covered that on OverDrive.
We have. So this is why I'm plumbing for an ST2 to get around the security issue a bit. With this, I prefer to press a button to unlock the car. I don't like this grab and handle and you're in. I don't like that.
That's understandable, of course.
But yeah, living with this car as it is in the year, I've got used to certain things like the daytime running lights. I've enjoyed the drive every day I go to work or everywhere I have to go in it. I enjoy the drive. The suspension isn't harsh. It is the ST suspension, but
a bit firmer than standard, isn't it?
It's firmer than standard, but it's forgiving. But the ST suspension is tweaked even more on this. So that will be a slightly harsher, but you'd have to expect that for that vehicle.
You kind of go into that with your eyes open on that kind of thing, don't you?
Yeah, it's the nature of the car. It has to be like that.
But it's been a lovely car to film. Me and Malcolm and Martin have all enjoyed filming it over the past year, haven't we?
It's had its features in many things as this car.
And also, actually, as well, it's proven, dare I say it, one of the most popular videos on OverDrive, hasn't it?
I will say, anyone who's thinking of buying one of these, do it. I've not heard of any stories about these. 3-cylinder engine, you think, dropping a cylinder. I don't know, but it works. It works fine. Ford have tuned this nicely. The only thing, a neighbour pointed it out to me, but this is by the by with being a 3-cylinder, you do get a little bit more engine noise. I'll just say, if you don't want the expense of the full fat ST, but you want to look the part of something very sporty, and actually got the mild sporty thrills, I'll say, this is a car for you. It won't let you down.
There you go. I hope that's comprehensive enough.
Okay, well, that was the Fiesta ST line review. Hope you enjoyed that. Next up, we've got something a little bit different. We've got an app. we're called Talk to tell you all about. That we've just finished filming, so let's take a look.
I have gathered you here.
Yeah.
That's crossed my mind.
Has crossed your mind. Well, you remember I mentioned in the discussion last time, one of the biggest contributions to pedestrian accident safety was the fact that the speedometer has been dialed down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I've been watching mine avidly.
Well, there's a piece of software that I have, and it's that one.
Ah, you mentioned that, did you not?
Mentioned this one
Yeah.
before, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is basically show you how it all works,
Right.
explain it all, and just basically go through the costs. So to use Talk, or Talk Pro as I've got here, you need an OBD2 dongle.
Ah.
So onboard diagnostics. So you need to know where your port is.
Which
Find-
I've seen a lot of how-to videos for certain cars on
Yeah.
how
Yep.
to find your
So
port.
basically, find your port, get one of these, stick it in, which is easy enough, and then of course we'll find that it all starts to match up.
So basically, this is linking up to what you've just plugged in there.
Yep. So it links up. This one by Bluetooth. The most common ones link up via Bluetooth. You can get them to connect via USB. You can get them to connect via Wi-Fi. But the more common and the easier ones to get are the ones that link up by Bluetooth.
Right.
And it connects up. And once your car's running, it will actually connect into your onboard diagnostic, all your ECU. Now, bear in mind, this will pick up the common engine code faults as you're driving. It won't pick up any manufacturer-specific ones.
Right.
So if you get something that comes up that's specific to your vehicle, it will pick those up. It will pick up the common engine faults and things like that. So it's basically an onboard diagnostics system.
Yeah.
So you should be able to, well, flash that up there. But once the car's all connected up and started, you should find that the car connection stops flashing. So see it there flashing. It's got GPS. It's got connected to the actual adapter, and it's got power. And after a few moments, it's going to go horribly wrong now. It should connect up and say, "I'm connected." There we go.
Oh, something it just did like a sweep of
Yeah.
the dial.
And
didn't
it's
it?
got your car there, Rover 75 there.
Yep.
We are, see?
So we've got the profile on there. We have to build a profile for each car.
Right.
You can see there, that's stopped flashing, but also that's gone from accelerometer to
Rev counter.
Rev counter.
Yeah, we are.
It's pretty good, that, isn't it?
now. The beauty about this, I'll mount it there. I'm not going to keep holding up to the camera while driving.
That won't be a good safety feature.
It wouldn't. You can do custom dashboards.
All right.
So if we go into there, I've got a couple set up. So I've got
Hey,
the
wow, that's
revs.
pretty good.
That's
that,
good,
that.
isn't it? Yeah.
I've got how green I'm driving,
Oh, no, that's something.
and the clock, coolant temperature, speed, rev counter, all sorts of bits and pieces on there. We'll take it for a run. I'll show you the sort of features. So this one's generally showing how green I'm driving,
Right.
speed. Obviously, I'm not going to get massively green credentials, I don't think, driving around Huddersfield.
No.
But take note while I'm driving of, so we put it onto an easy one to read. That one. So that speed and that speed.
I might have to just move over a little bit.
Yeah. So that speed and that speed as I'm driving along. Now there's a little bit of latency on there, but not a massive amount, because every time it scans every now and again. It doesn't constantly be on it. You know, like every so many bits of a second it scans and says, right, what's my latest reading?
Right.
So there's a little bit of latency. But once we're on a reasonably constant speed, you'll notice that one is different to the other. So my car's saying I'm doing 20.
That's
Yeah,
it.
21.
That was saying 18
Yeah.
and you said 20. That's an 18,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, I think it's probably more like 21. So yeah, we're looking at.
You'll have to bear with us
it.
with the jolting up and down, but we do have terrible speed bumps around here.
Right, these speed bumps. Well, we don't need speed bumps. We've got potholes.
Well,
Well, that is true, you know.
I
Yeah, I mean,
it's saying over 30
I'm,
and that's saying 28.
I'm going to say that's between a 3 and a 4 mile an hour overread on the car.
Difference, yeah.
Well, it's actually the percentage. So when you're actually doing 70, so if I was going on a motorway saying I was doing 70, that would be telling me I'd be doing 62.
Right.
When I'm doing 80, I'm actually doing about 75.
Yeah.
74, 75.
I think the overread is higher the higher speed you get.
Yeah.
It is a handy guide, is this, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you know, the thing that annoys me, we're going up to a speed camera now, and the thing that annoys me is somebody will slow down to about 25 mile an hour.
Yeah.
I'm going through at my car saying about 30 and I'm doing 26.
Yeah.
So when you slow down to 25, you're doing way less than 25. I mean, that's not all that this is capable of. It's capable of a lot more, which we'll go into as we're driving along. In fact, this would be a very, very, very short piece. So,
and to wrap up on that,
and we're all done, and on to the next bit. But no, this is actually capable of a heck of a lot more, because it's actually now mapping the journey. So we've got the GPS running all the time, so we can get a pretty good average, a pretty good idea of what mileage we've done, where we've been, but also crucially, if you've got faults on a car that crop up at certain points, you can see whereabouts you were, the exact point you were when it came up, what the fault is, and try and track down possible causes from there. So
there's pretty much an onboard diagnostics as well as
and the fact it's not just doing it once when it's like turned on, and it's doing it constantly, isn't it? It's forever checking, and it sounds like a really.
You see there, we've just gone through a speed camera there, and according to the car itself, bang on 30 mile an hour, and it was showing 26, wasn't it? This is 26 points.
Yeah, 26 points.
So
if you round it down to 27, you're still well under what speed camera.
Yeah.
So, as a note for all those people who think they need to slow down for cameras, don't. Let's have a look.
How green is your car?
How green is your car? Well, mine's gold.
He's got mine's black.
Mine's red as well. It's dangerous.
So, how green is your car? I mean, this builds it up over time, but it's taking snapshots of data that you're not actually even registering. Bear in mind, it all depends on what your onboard diagnostics port can actually output, which depends on the ECUs that your cars have. For example, I mean, this car's a Rover 75. It's got BMW electronics in it, and a BMW engine in this one.
Yeah.
So, what you can push out of, or the information you can get out of this, is far more than you could get out of the Rover 45.
Yes.
Your trees just got greener.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're supposed to be apples or whatever. Simple
Just leaves.
They're not leaves or whatever. It's just filled with more greenery.
Yep. So the better you drive, the more green the tree.
Right. So it's obviously just while you've been explaining that, it's just taking like another new reading, and
it likes what it's getting. Yeah.
And of course, in theory, the more green you drive, the less fuel you're going to use and things like that.
It's got greener again.
Yeah. Look at that, look now we are.
We've practically got a full tree.
We have, yeah.
And it says below, it gives you a little thing there, so it's got green machine on that one.
Right.
And then when you get the full lot, it's Eco Warrior.
It's almost a game now in yourself,
it becomes a game. Yeah, driving to work becomes a game.
Try and keep the tree.
It's really green now.
Yep, that's as high as you can get. So now we're Eco Warrior.
Eco Warrior, we're Eco Warriors now.
For all you lot out there, we're Eco Warriors today.
Who said you need a Prius? Just buy a 17-year-old Rover.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Tell me plugged into this Prius or something like that.
You can have different facias as well, different dials, different types of dials.
Yeah, there is, isn't there? Yeah.
It's not if it's just all one set thing.
There is one thing that's really good on this as well. You can actually have the display twisted round to it, so it can act like a heads up.
Yeah.
But you need a mount in the right place on your windscreen. And to be fair, for most of the cars I've tried this in, just as like tests, I've tried it in a couple of friends' cars and stuff like that. It's not as good as a dedicated actual device, but it's okay.
There are a number of other features on Torque as well. For example, a diagnostic test mode, which can run tests on the car as you're going along. You can also scan the ECU, so if your engine light's on, you can find out any codes that have actually been triggering it, or even any legacy codes that have been there that may well have been solved but are still held in memory. Different faces and styles can also be set for the time of day, so you can have one set in the daytime and another set when it's dark, just to make things a little bit clearer for you.
Quite a few people know a lot about these. Some people use them religiously, other people won't have a clue.
Yeah.
That's basically why we're doing this. But there are other bits of software available as well. Some of them for free, many of them have cost.
Yeah.
Now, Torque, which is the one we've got here, I absolutely love. I've used it for years. And you can get a free version. You can see a limited subset stuff, and you can pay for the full version. Now, the full version is a max. Well, at the time when I got it, was a massive whopping $2.99.
Wow.
And the OBD dongle was an absolutely huge £2.50.
It's not going to break the bank, this, is it, really?
No, so for less than a tenner,
Yeah.
You're set up really, aren't you?
yeah, and change for lunch. You can also do graphing as well, so you can get it to look at the horsepower of the wheels, the actual mechanical power of the wheels, other things as well, and just graph it as it's going along. The real-time graph. With the graphing side of things, basically, tap on the graphing, set the x-axis sensors, and we've got all sorts of bits to scroll through here. Unfortunately, I know what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to go straight the way through. Nope. What do the engine RPM, because it makes everything else look really, really... As you can see, there's a whole host of things you can actually look at. The ones marked in green are the ones you can get information from. But what I want is horsepower at the wheels. Torque. I think that's it. So let's just get the two bits there. So now we've got the graph. Once I set it going, it will start graphing the whole thing.
Actually graphing about then what you've just selected.
Yeah. So what power I'm sending to the wheels, how much torque I'm using, torque being green, power to the wheels being red.
Yeah.
Sorry for the shaking, folks.
It's alright.
Again, the roads.
Roads.
Help. There's quite a bit of feedback there, isn't there? What's happening? Just a bit of shock, isn't it?
Obviously it's not going to be as accurate as a rolling road,
No.
but it gives you an idea on what your car's actually doing.
It's good guidelines still.
And it's real world driving at the day, isn't it?
Yeah. You've got a list of recorded trips that were there previously.
Right.
You can basically select that trip and see what you were doing. Red being close to the top speed you were doing at the time, so if you're doing 70 on the motorway, that will be your red point. As with this one, it's just basically been quite a short journey. 30 is about your red point.
Yeah.
So
That's really good, that.
Tells you how sort of
save you trip.
efficient you are, and you can look at your efficiency.
well, with that, more for me, it's more so I can record on mileage that I've done for claiming it back. But also, if there's a particular point where an engine warning lights coming up, you can see that it'll get tagged on there, and you can sort of see roughly what you were doing, were you doing around 70, were you doing around 40, that sort of thing. And
the fact that you can save it for people that might have, like yourself, to claim back for any expenses or anything
It's a
like
really
that,
good
is a really
thing.
good
Yeah,
thing.
you're not just relying on the mileage of the car, are you?
Well, you're not also relying on saying to bosses or thinking, well, I did this and did that, and you've got proof there, haven't you?
yeah,
You've got some real physical proof there, which I think is a good thing. So anyone out there that does a lot of things that they have to require proof of mileage or places they've been and all that to get paid back, anything like that.
It's a really handy
Well, I
little
don't
tool.
want to, because any bosses that refuse it, I can't get out of that one. This is what I did.
While there are other apps out there, Talk Pro is the one that I use daily with my car. And to be honest, it's never let me down and given me plenty of information. If you want something like that with a bit of diagnostics and a few other features besides, this really is worth a look. It's available on the Google Play Store and works on most Android phones. I haven't yet come across one that it doesn't.
So that was Talk, and I must say, as we were filming that, a very interesting app that I didn't know nothing about.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I've had a few features pointed out to me there on that, and I hope you enjoyed that. And
hang on.
do you know what? Every time I start recording now, I always hear something at the back of me. It's that jingle!
Okay, so guys, welcome to this month's discussion. We're going to talk about something that we've not talked about in OverDrive before, motoring related of course. Basically, we'd like your feedback after this as well, so what do you think? The pros and cons of, I suppose, buying a new or newish car on finance or on a PCP or whether we'll talk about the different agreements.
They seem to call them lots of different names.
They
At the end of
do.
the day, it's all finance.
And I suppose buying an old car, not paying it outright. Or a new one outright if you can afford it, but I can't.
I'll let Malcolm kick off.
Should we look at pros?
Well, he's just said he was in a position where he's never actually had
The only time I've ever had a new car has been when it's been a company car.
a company. That's it. That's
And you see, one of the bugbears for me is you buy a car, you buy it brand new, and before it's even gone off the forecourt, the value, its actual second-hand value has plummeted.
I'll be the first to admit that the depreciation just goes.
Yeah, and some cars are worse than others. I mean, probably one of the best cars at the minute is the Dacia Sandero. Because that's taken so long to get to just drop to half of its initial resale value.
True, yeah.
But you can lose, 10-15% of a car's value just by buying it.
Driving it on.
Yeah.
And you haven't driven it off the forecourt. And to me, that's, why should I take that hit? Why should I do that?
Yeah.
I'd rather get the car later on when the problems have been, any problems that could be with it have been niggled out. I mean, there's not so many problems these days with new cars, but there used to be all sorts of things. But the other thing is as well, I'm driving around in a 17-year-old car. It's mine, it's bought outright, well, it wasn't even bought, it was swapped.
Well, yeah.
It was free actually.
Yeah.
Let's get down to the details.
So it was mine outright, no problem with it. I don't owe anything on it. It doesn't owe me anything.
Yeah.
More crucially, and I know the only thing I've got to worry about in terms of monthly payments are the fuel, the tax, and the insurance.
Yeah.
That's the only monthly insurance.
I will admit, coming from my point of view, I've been in both. I've owned the cars outright, and as with this one, I pay monthly for it.
But now yours is interesting as well because not to go into Martin's personal details too much, but I believe you financed half the car and you're around about that.
Yeah, you see, with me, because people will find this out, I'm a beggar for swapping my cars left, right, and centre. But I sort of got myself in a position where I wasn't in any negative, I could say. I was ahead. And I did it in such a way where let's say I've not as much to pay back. It's not like here it is and you're forking out a lot. I have been in positions before with other cars where I've actually owned all the vehicle outright, and I've also had a car fully on finance as well as I am now with things. There is some benefits with the fact you are covered with a lot of things, with your full warranty and things like that, and there is certain things, if there's an issue, we whip it back to the garage you don't have to fork a lot out. Because there is a flip side. I hear some people that have cars and say, "Oh, well, it's my own car and all that." Oh, well, how much did it cost you this month apart from fuel and that? Well, I had to get that sorted, and then a month before that, I had to pay 300 and get that sorted. And I think sometimes, it's not everyone, but sometimes they just throw money at a car just to keep it on the road.
Yeah, and this is why we want to talk about the pros and cons. Now, just like Martin, I've been in those situations. I've had cars on finance. At the moment, I've got 2 cars that are bought and paid for. And I've only had finance, but I've had different types of finance. So
Yeah.
I've had now my Toyota Aygo and the Fiesta D-Tech. I said they were both brand new. They're the only brand new cars I've ever had. They were both on what they call PCP agreements. So in other words, you pay a normal deposit like you do in a normal agreement, and then you effectively save a chunk to the end.
Yeah,
so you
it's
pay
like a balloon payment at the end.
so your balloon payment. So your payments in the meantime are lower than they will be on normal HP. So you're not paying the full amount of the car basically. Now I've also had cars, second-hand cars that I tend to have bought about 2 or 3 years old, where they've been on a normal HP agreement. So you're paying the full amount of the car. So your payments are higher over your 3, 4 or 5 years, however long you have it. But after that, there's no balloon payment. The car's yours. The last car I had was that situation, and I just got a little bit tired of it really. I thought, I can do more this £200 a month and just give it to a finance company. So luckily I managed to get out of that agreement without costing too much money. And then, as you know, buy the Chevrolet that's been on OverDrive, and been running that since March. And it saves a fair chunk of money every month. I don't always notice it this year because I've been able to buy stuff like a new TV and things like that I wouldn't have been able to buy paying for that car.
You see, I look at it this way, that certain things, that I pay a month for my car, I know I'd still be spending it elsewhere. There's not a great other deal of things I want to fork out for. But I also look at it this way, the car that's sat on there, on my drive, I don't intend to keep.
No.
So if I had it bought outright, I probably still will be saying, well, I'm not going to keep this car long, I'll be looking at selling it at some point. So as finance to me rolls,
it's better.
It's fine.
Yeah.
When I had my Focus RS, I wanted that car so much, the only way to do it at the time was finance. I got the payments down low and good, but it was on the case of I would reach a point where it'd be like a small payment at the end, or I could basically hand that car back to them, walk away minus the car, but with nothing else to pay. They'd technically have some goods to sell then, and they'd make the money back again that way. Or you could, like I said, pay this balloon payment off, or refinance it.
So that was the PCP.
Start all over again. Yeah.
Mind you, can't PCP, can't PCP bite you in the backside though?
It can.
Yes,
it
can.
Be.
Yeah. I would have said at the time, if the situation wouldn't have changed with my father and things like that, I would have continued with that car to the end and kept that car. Because of the nature of the car it was. But as with some cars I've had that have been fairly bog standard ones or whatever, no, it's just been a little bit like a throwaway commodity.
No, I mean, I had a PCP, like I said, on a brand new Toyota Aygo a few years ago, and should we say underestimated the mileage that I'd been doing at the time. So with PCPs you're also mileage limited. I think this was about 10,000 a year, and I'm sure that's for more than that, but anyway, that's what the agreement was. And I ended up doing, I think it was about 15,000 miles a year. And so obviously I managed to part exchange the car and everything was all sorted out and dusted, but had I kept that car to its full 3 years, I would have then been left with a bill for excess mileage. Well, and I think it was about 6p a mile or something like that.
When I had my Tangerine Screen Focus, that was on that where there was a thing on the mileage, and I've still got the old finance documents upstairs, and that was if you're over, it was 10 pence a mile.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, I nearly looked. I mean, I was looking around at not a new car, but a nearly new car, and they kept offering me a PCP, and I looked at it, and it's like, no, it'll never work for me because
as it turned out, it's a good job I didn't, because in that particular year they were saying, oh, you'll be limited to 10,000 miles a year. Well, that's really good. But in that particular year, I did 23,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it's an absolutely useless finance. And yeah, this last couple of months, I'd have been okay with that. But now my job's changing again, and
You can't guarantee that. I think it comes down to personal circumstances and preference. You know, but that's just the way I've done up till now.
There's another reason why I always go for, when I can, a new car as well, and it's not to do with finance. I always look at it as well. You don't have to MOT a car for 3 years, and 9 times out of 10, I never MOT a car because they've gone before that time.
Well, this is what I wanted to touch on. I wanted to touch on the advantages. Now, advantages obviously a new car, like Martin says, you don't have to MOT it for 3 years. There's often a quite competitive service package.
Well, the thing is, especially with this Fiesta ST line, I will say, and it's all Fiestas as a whole, they don't do one first service, a proper major service, for 2 years.
It's 2 years, yeah.
I may not even have this car serviced in the time I own it. It's had one pre-check over about 3 months ago, and that is it.
And so there's advantages like that. Also, obviously, I suppose you've got peace of mind and reliability. Nothing's ever guaranteed 100%, but the chances are with a new car, if you can.
Well, I won't always say reliability. I will say the peace of mind you do get is if something goes wrong, it's covered under warranty. Let's say most general things.
Yeah.
And you can. Some people do pay extra for more things, but I won't say it gives you reliability that something won't go wrong, because new cars can fail worse than old.
Yeah. But it's a bit more peace of mind in terms of getting it fixed, I suppose.
Yes, it gives you that peace of mind.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, though, depending on what sort of car you get, the amount you pay a month could actually be more expensive than the car's first MOT works out as.
True, and also your monthly payments, if you're in an
you're paying that once a year, whereas when you're paying it monthly, you're paying it every
single month. If you start dialing down and breaking a lot of things down, it could be a bit of a mind bender.
That said though, old cars, not necessarily unreliable. We only need to look at, I suppose mine, and especially Malcolm's Road 75 to know that yes, it's had a few things done here and there, hasn't it?
Look at my Puma as well.
Yeah.
But that car is nearly 180, well, is it 190,000?
It's nearly
190,000 miles. And, you know, it does make you wonder, you think, do I really need that brand new number plate? I mean, it does make you wonder.
Well, don't get me wrong, it's like I said, I've had, 21 cars, if you include the Motability cars as well, but if you take them out of the equation, I've had a good 16, 17 cars of my own. But I'd say most of them, they haven't all been new.
No.
My electric orange ST was used, my facelift one of that was used, the RS was used.
Yeah.
Just because some of them landed on finance, they didn't mean to say they rolled out of a showroom brand new.
That's the interesting thing though. I mean, if you look at the finance statistics at the moment, the second-hand market is now far bigger than the new car market. It passed about 2017. And it's just been growing ever since. The new car market is still falling year on year.
You see, the thing is, they're absolutely flooding the market with new cars. The moment they're out new, they become used.
Yeah.
The moment they pass on to they're a used car. So people now that used to think, oh, I'm looking for a used car, I'll have to be careful. No, because they're getting so many good quality used cars. And they're nearly practically new.
And the thing is as well, it is new, based on new finance deals alone. I mean, the used car market has always been pretty big, but just going on finance deals, the used car market is massive. Whereas the second-hand car market is massive. Whereas the new car market is falling in on itself, and it's not just here; it's worldwide.
Having said that, though, most new cars that are sold are on an agreement of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I suppose everywhere you drive, you just take a look at any car that passes you, whoever's driving and whatever car they are, you can guarantee that probably 90% of them won't be on finance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm afraid to say, but it's the way we live the world today.
Yeah, I think, like I say, it comes down to personal preference. It comes down to budget, it comes down to what you want. Yeah. And so all I'm going to say is, if you're wondering what to do and you're in that situation, choose what you need for your needs. But secondly to that, and most importantly, make sure you can afford it. But anyway, I think that's it for this discussion. Please, like we said, send us your thoughts, send us your experiences. What have you had done? You know, what have you bought? What have you not bought, and reasons why?
And you'll just have to excuse me now because I just have to sign the finance agreement for my brand new Mercedes estate.
Well, for the discussion anyway, that's it. Cheers.
Bye.
As the music's just finished once again, we now move on to the last of our features for this episode. And this one is a particularly nice little car. I say little.
I would sell that.
It is the BMW M4. Now, if you've seen the BMW Special, we have covered one of these before, but we didn't actually get to do much playing around with it. But this time we actually have it on the road. We hear the noises as it's driving.
Well, I think we made up for it on this one, didn't we?
Yeah.
In the beginning, there was the 3 Series, and BMW thought, let's make something else. So they took the 3 Series and made the 4, making a coupe style, which was really, really nice. And then they made it an M car, with the M4 coupe. And this is what I'm looking at today.
One of the favourite things about this is obviously the lights. You get the angel eye lights there, and they are quite spectacular while you're driving along. Certainly one of the better daytime running lights that you can actually find these days. But also, when you start getting down to here, all these sections here, carbon fibre. And it suits the car. It's just that extra definition there. Obviously, the whole thing comes around in the styling, onto the grille, slightly different from the standard BMW grille. You've got more matte and just plain black rather than bits of chrome in there. Just really sets the car off nicely. But moving around, we get the styling that's different from the standard BMWs and has the extra parts in there, all for airflow. It's well thought out. But the thing is, it doesn't do anything to diminish any styling. But on this particular one, there's 2 things that are really the favourite things for me. Obviously, you have the standard side skirts of the car, but look at them wheels. Just look at them. Absolutely stunning. It's almost, I mean, if there was any less wheel there, they'd be floating. Look at the size of those brake discs. Absolutely massive. I've seen car wheels smaller than those. But they're absolutely necessary for keeping that power sat in that front bonnet under control.
Up front is the mainstay of the BMW M3 and M4 series, the 3-litre straight-six twin-turbo engine, which has been given a bit of a tune and a kick by the M engineers at BMW, meaning this is a bit more powerful than the standard 4 series. To illustrate, this is 1 horsepower. The car behind is 425 of those, so you're able to make a bit of noise. But there's another part of the car I really like as well.
The carbon fibre roof. It doesn't stand out so much on this one as it would on, say, a white or a blue, but it's there. It's absolutely spot on for the car. And that carbon fibre flows right the way from the beginning, across the top here, but also this part, the lip spoiler. Trust me, you really don't want to drive an M4 without one. And then we're at the business end of the car. Carbon fibre diffuser, or dual twin exhausts. Just look. Now it's purring at a really nice, gentle rhythm. Stick your foot down, that changes entirely.
But enough about the outside. Let's have a look at what the interior's like. On the inside, just as with the outside, the M4 is just the same as the 4 Series, but it does additional little touches. So things like you've got your carbon fibre, you have the M badge on the actual display, you have the M badge on the steering wheel, you have it on the gear lever. It's also in the seats, but it's subtle. It's also on the kick plates as well. Subtle, not overboard. Red leather seats, you can see they're actually not that bad. I'm not a fan of red interiors per se, but it's nicely contrasted with the black setup of the rest of the cabin, which kind of offsets the seats and makes it actually quite a nice environment. Back seats is 2 with the centre console as well. The thing around the interior styling though is the attention to detail. There's as much attention to the interior detail as there is to every other detail of the car. The stitching is all perfect. You've got the actual colouring for the M series in the stitching on the steering wheel. It's all right there. Console display, really clear. You've got obviously your fuel, mileage, what miles per hour you're doing, your rev counter, your water temperature, and when you actually fire the whole car up, you've got other details as well, which you can bring up on the central display. So everything you need is well within reach. It's perfectly designed around the driver, right down to the actual controls as well, for turning things like traction control off, adjusting your suspension, your steering and the handling of the car. It's all right there, just within reach. Absolutely love the dial control for the infotainment system. And if you've seen the BMW special that we did, you'll see that we went through a lot of the interior things. We did a lot of comparisons between the M3, the M4, and of course the M convertible as well. And it hasn't changed. It's still as good now as it was back then. And yeah, I really do like them. It's one of those cars, you've got the options to tone it down, you can drive along quite nicely. The 6-cylinder engine up at the front will just basically sit there quite happily and let you tootle along. But when you want to get that extra bit out of it and get the noise, touch of a button, you're right there. Suddenly it becomes a lot more of a car. The suspension and steering tighten up, the power's right there, and the whole response of the car is completely different depending on which setting you like. Ideal for the saga lout, the older generation that still has that little bit of a rebellious streak in there just under their right foot. With this being effectively the auto box with the flappy paddles as well, so semi-auto, you've got that extra control over the way the car's going to go through the gears. You can decide to drop down a gear, stick your foot down and let that exhaust burble. Let's face it, that is a bit addictive. If you like to do that, you're going to watch your fuel disappear like there's no tomorrow. So just be aware on that one. Plus, there might be a few neighbours who don't like the noise. But let's face it, if they don't like the noise, they've got no taste in cars. You shouldn't have them as neighbours. What have we got in here? Well, we do have the nice cubby holes. We have more cubby holes, cup holders at the front, and a nice little sort of ashtray area by the obligatory 12-volt power socket that we have these days. Don't call it a cigarette lighter, and we don't get the cigarette lighter as a standard. It's always an optional pack. You always get the plastic. Air conditioning units we've covered before. Really comprehensive options on there. And of course the actual infotainment system for the buttons. You've got the CD slot for CDs. And you've also got the actual infotainment display. Absolutely love the satellite navigation system. Quite clear on the display. It shows you exactly where you are. Not a problem with it at all. And of course the controls make it easy to actually use. The big things for me on this car are just how comfortable it is, especially on roads like this one in Kirklees. Stick it into sport mode, you're going to grind your spine to dust. However, if it's in comfort mode, it's not quite so bad. It's a lot firmer than a lot of cars that I'm used to, but it's not to the point where it's uncomfortable. And the seats do actually help hold you in place and cope well with the road conditions. A lot of people will find things like the steering wheel are a little bit small for them. This to me, it is a bit small for the size of the car, but for me it's actually perfect in terms of being able to handle things and at least keep control of the vehicle. It's actually quite a nice size, it's quite a nice feel to it. I can't find anything to complain about, to be fair. Last but not least, well, we've heard the sound. We know what these sound like. Yes, you've got that ridiculous ability to get from 0 to 60 in a ridiculously quick time. Yes, you've got the rear wheel drive. And yes, you've got all the little bits to help control that rear wheel. But the key thing, which you really, really need, and it doesn't really seem that big a deal, you can just about see it, I can just about see it in the wing mirror, is that rear spoiler. That little rear lip spoiler. That just gives that extra bit of downforce onto those back wheels, and it really is an important part of the car. I've seen people who've had them and thought to themselves, I'll take it off, don't really need it. That's when you're going to wind up in a ditch. Without that, this car cannot put its actual power down effectively. It needs that little bit of extra push down at the back to make sure that those wheels keep contact when you need them. But they've done well to integrate it into the overall styling of the car. I love the coupe look. Maybe, I've said before, maybe I'd like the 4-door, the 5-door Grand Coupe, but this particular car, the M4, really does make me warm to the whole idea of a 2-door coupe. Even if you can only get 2 people in the back. Ideally for me, I'd like 3, just for that awkward time when you've got 5 of you, but most of the time it would suit me just fine. I cannot find any actual reason not to have one of these, apart from maybe the fact I can't afford one, which is a shame. But if I could, I'd love to have one of these. It really is nice. And that's it for 22. So
22.
Can't believe it.
I know.
12 episodes I've done now.
12 and he thinks, oh, look at all these I've done. And there's poor me and Malcolm.
Well, 13 if you count the Christmas special.
Well, yeah, right from the beginning.
I'm getting old.
We're showing his age here, right from the beginning.
He had black hair when he started.
Well, I had hair when I started. No, I didn't, honestly. Check the video out, you'll see I didn't. It just feels that way. But yeah,
it's going great.
Well, yeah. I think maybe
that was before OverDrive.
You see, this is a little sneaky wee reason why I probably do a lot of this is because I've gone grey as well. So when you do eventually see us with Zimmer frames, I think please leave a comment saying it's time to give up.
I think the viewing figures would have gone out. But anyway, yes, as usual, when we finish a video, we have a little bit of a quick chat as well.
A little roundup, don't we, what we've done.
A couple of things to mention, which I was going to mention last episode, but I forgot. We have an anniversary of a car.
Do we?
We do. Well, strictly speaking, it was last month, but anyway. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably going to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the date was 10th of October 1989, and a very, very important car was launched. It was indeed. The Rover 200 and 400 R8 models, was it called? Not an Audi R8, they're called R8 models, of course. And it was launched at a hotel which I can't remember the name of, in Wiltshire. I think it was Luckman Pot Hotel, something like that I think it was called. Anyway, it was launched, had all the press there, the old Top Gear was there, everybody was there, and they took a route around the Cotswolds, like 20-30 miles or so, back to the hotel and blah blah blah. Last month, on that date, they replicated it, and they had certain cars, I think there were 4 cars that were on the original launch were there again, and they did the whole route again and had press there and all that kind of thing, and basically reenacted the whole thing, including R8 number 1 was there. Metallic green one, I think it's a 214 GSI the spec.
Isn't that the one that's in the British Heritage Museum?
It's not, no, it belongs to the chairman of the 200 Owners Club at the moment.
Okay.
Right.
Kitted out with all options, I think we mentioned this one before, apart from the alloy wheels I believe. And yeah, that was car number 1. And they had I think 3 other cars that were there at the press launch at the time as well. So just thought I'd mention it. I mean, my parents had 3 of them over the years, back in the 90s and stuff like that, and it was a car that is very close to my heart, and I think these guys really appreciate that as well.
I had driven a couple as company cars.
I've never had the pleasure of
cars.
driving one anyway.
So yeah, hope you enjoyed episode 22. From me, see you next time. Any final words, chaps?
I'm thinking at the moment.
See you in 23. That's what I always say. See
Please
you in the next one. See you on the other side.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Say it now.
Yeah.
We've got a discussion, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. See you later.
That would be good. And today's discussion is. See you later.